Hey y'all, this is Dr. Traci Harrell, and it has been quite a year. This is the last Monday in 2025. It's been quite a year, and today we're going to talk about Kwanza. I don't consider myself a Kwanza expert, but I am an AI expert. And so I built this beautiful presentation that I'm really hoping I can log in and share with you today. And it's about Kwanza. It's about Kwanza, the culture, the community, and really this collective economic power that Kwanzaa principles elevate for us. They actually give us something to tap into. So this is about honoring our roots. And then when you think about building our future, doing it in such a way that allows us to truly tap into roots and ancestors, things that are greater than us. So that's really why I love the concept of Kwanzaa. So what I wanted to share today is, for some of you know what it is, so we're going to get through that on one slide. But it is a vibrant 7-day celebration honoring African heritage, values, and community strength. Keep it simple. It's not a holiday. It's not just a holiday, even though it's celebrated like a holiday. It's really a reaffirmation of who we are and what we're building together. And I kind of thought this was important, not only to talk about today, because we're in the Kwanzaa time frame. Today's the 29th, and Kwanzaa is the 20, starts on the day after Christmas, or the 26th. So I'm going to talk about all the Kwanzaa principles, but I think, the importance of reaffirming who we are and what we're all about. Since our show is called Better Together and Living Powerfully, this is how we live powerfully together, using these Kwanzaa centers, these Kwanzaa values. Really, again, this presentation is gorgeous, so I will make it available. I'll put a link here. It's December 26th through January 1st is when Kwanzaa is actually celebrated. And, it is a reflection, a recommitment, and a renewal. So it's really kind of that time in between, right? You're ending a year, but you're starting a new year. So it's really, looking, we talked about Sankofa previously, this idea of moving forward, but looking back. So it's a little bit of reflection, but you're also excited about what's next and how do you move forward, right? In that time in between. So between the year behind us with the possibilities ahead, this is when we should really be focusing on these Kwanzaa principles. So I'm excited about this. And it is for all generations, right? We have elders who share their wisdom, but you also have youth who carry their vision forward. I mean, youth get more excited about, some of these new opportunities, especially things that I'm excited about, which is like AI, for example. I've been shocked at how many people really want to get involved with AI. So I'm going to go double down in the new year. I wanted to end the year really helping people to refocus on how we can really live our best lives. No. So each evening of Kwanzaa, families and communities gather. They light a principle, and they strengthen the bonds that really sustain us throughout the entire year. It's a sacred pause, right? It's a moment to honor where we've been and to recommit to where we're going. It will be really lovely if I can share this beautiful presentation. If not, I'm going to keep moving. So the Nguzo Saba, it's spelled Nguzo and then Saba. This is 7 principles for living, is really what Kwanzaa is all about, right? They're not abstract ideals. They are practical values for everyday living. That's really what I love most about this concept of Kwanzaa. Bear with me, y'all. I just came back from a walk outside. So it's been a lot. I had technology issues. It's been a lot, but I'm here. I'm showing up. Showing up. But what the Kwanzaa principles do, this Nguzo Saba, the 7 principles for living, they guide us on how to show up for each other. I love that part, right? How we build businesses, how we invest in our communities, and how we create lasting wealth and well-being. So the 7 principles are alive in the work we do every day, the businesses that we support, in the youth that we mentor, in the collaborations that we forge, and the future that we're building together right here in Washington State and really around the world. Everything we do is really about how do we show up. Again, the Nguzo Saba, the 7 principles for living, are as follows. So principle number 1 is umoja. It's about unity. Principle number 2 is Kuchichakalia, and that's self-determination. Kwanza principle number 3 is called Ujima, and that's collective work and responsibility. Principle number 4 is called Ujama, which is cooperative economics. Principle number 5 is Nia, and that means purpose. Principle number 6 is Kuumba, which is creativity. And principle 7 is Imani, which really is all about faith. Okay, so we're going to go into each of these. We can go into each of them, or I can scroll down. This is like a multi-page presentation. If you think about each of these principles, the first one is unity, umoja. So it's really about together is stronger. It calls for us to strive for and to maintain unity in our families, in our community, in our nation, in our race, as a human race, right? Like all of us should be deciding that we collectively are better together. We're stronger together, right? And so it reminds us that our individual success is tied to our collective well-being. Just want to say that again. Our individual success is tied to our collective well-being. So when one of us rises, we all rise. And if you think about how this is applied to everyday life, unity means showing up for each other, bridging differences, and working across generations. I know. It's the elder person that's mentoring. It's the young entrepreneur. It's the neighbor supporting families in need. It's the community rallying around shared goals. It's all of that. That's the concept of unity. So how does it show up? It shows up in any time and every time you're connecting with another human being and you're aligned on a goal. You understand that together you're stronger. That's unity. That's umoja. That's principle number 1. And it does have an economic connection as well. Unity powers cooperative economics, right? Shared business incubators, there's all kind of examples of that. Collective purchasing power, strategic partnerships, there's all kind of things. So when you think about, businesses that collaborate instead of compete with each other, that's unity. That's when you think about collaboration. When we pull our resources together and we share knowledge, we multiply our impact exponentially because we're doing it together. We recognize that unity together is stronger. And thank you for the comments. I appreciate that. Unity is the foundation of this entire Kwanza celebration, this reminder, this remembrance, this reflection. Unity is the foundation because without unity, nothing else we build can stand. Just to say that again, without unity, nothing else that we build can and will stand. So the next principle is the hardest one to say. It's Kuji Jagalia. It's self-determination. And I love this one too because it says we define ourselves. Self-determination is the courage to name ourselves, to create for ourselves. So you're not comparing yourself to someone else. You're speaking for yourself. You're actually having that courage to show up. So the concept of self-determination says, I decide I'm going to thrive. And you know how many times I say that our decisions determine our destiny? That's self-determination. Like you get to decide what your business, how strong your business is. You decide that too, based on just for a walk. I'm sorry. Okay, so someone just looked in and gave me a thumbs up. So self-determination, or this concept of kujichagulia, self-determination, it's the refusal to let others write your story or to limit your potential. Now you know I love this concept, right? The refusal to let someone else write your story or to limit your potential. So the idea of saying that Kujijakalia, this self-determination, affirms that we are the authors of our own narrative. And Brene Brown always talks about, authoring your story and, the courage that it takes to really author your story. And that's economically, it's culturally, it's politically, right? It's all the things. It's in every area of your life. This concept of self-determination, defining yourself, is really the most powerful and the most, for me, it's the one that you have the most control over. You're not partnering with someone else. You're saying, I choose to do this for me today. You know how we all talk about this idea of caring for ourselves as well, like choosing, I'm going to do this work, but I'm also going to care for myself. That concept of sacred pampering principles that Debrina Jackson Gandy talks about a lot. We have our male and female coaches. We always talk about not just choosing to do the work, but choosing yourself as well. So this concept of self-determination, writing your own story, deciding that this caring for myself, loving myself, doing this thing for myself, whatever it is, like these things are choices. So decisions do determine your destiny. So in everyday life, we get to teach our children their true history. We get to celebrate, our excellence. We get to refuse narratives that diminish us. How cool is that? Right? We refuse them. We just say, no, that's not me. Thank you, but no, thank you. The other thing I love about self-determination, especially as relates to everyday life, when crazy people, because again, I've probably had more DMs on this concept when I said previously on prior shows. I think I said something about like rewriting your stories and having other people rewrite stories, and how we all have different experiences, and it's okay. I think that spiritual maturity and that maturity in life is saying, I see this other person, I can see it from your perspective too. I don't have to agree with you. like like you say, you apply for a job, for example, and or you're working with someone and they're like, it's not a good fit. It's just not a good fit. That has nothing to do with you. It's just not a good fit, right? You get to decide. Like Debrina Jackson Gandy told me recently, I was working with someone and it was, she could see it before I could see it. She's like, this is not a good fit. She's like, I know this person, it's chaos, it's a bunch of and she's like, I don't think it's going to be a good fit. And she said it for someone else too. And she was right. It took a while, but she was right. Like it's like over time. And then she actually said to me, which was also beautiful. She said, Traci, you get to decide who you work with and how you work. Just because someone asks you to do something, you don't have to do that. As a coach and a consultant, like I get to choose what I do, how I do it, and who I do it with. And so even if you're working for someone else, you still get to choose how you show up, right? So if someone around you, they say there's a meeting that's happening that is not, say, going well, you still get to decide how you respond. So this concept of self-determination, we define ourselves. We get to decide how we show up in everyday life. And moment by moment, decisions determine your destiny. And if you think about economic connection, right? Entrepreneurship, business ownership, controlling our economic destiny, not waiting for permission to build something that has been in your heart, deciding that, you work for someone else, that's great. But if you have a passion and there's something you want to do it too. There's no reason why you can't do this and that, right? So this idea of practicing self-determination is so empowering. So this principle of Kujijakalia, which is principle number 2 for Kwanza, these principles are every day, all day, throughout the year. So which is why I wanted to take the time today, the Monday during Kwanza, to really talk about it, so that we're all on the same page about how powerful it is. Okay. So again, we practice when we do the things that align with our vision. That's practicing self-determination, right? When you invest in your own vision, when you create a job for yourself or for other people, when you build wealth, right? Whatever you are doing that aligns with your vision, every single step you take, and we say this all the time, all right? We talk about self-determination, and what I love about this is, I got 2 minutes before the first break, so I'm gonna continue with self-determination. I'll come back and hopefully I'll have makeup on at that point. I didn't realize how rough I was looking. Yeah, it's been a long day. Okay. But so how we're going to close this topic, and we'll come back with the rest of the principles and some really cool actions that you can continue to do. But if you've never thought about Kwanzaa in this way, hopefully I'm turning it into something that isn't just words that you can't spell or pronounce, right? Because again, someone had to teach me. I forgot her name. I'll remember it when we come back from break. But she does the Kwanzaa Awards. Her name begins with a Z. I'll come back to it. But she taught me how to pronounce each of these words. So I do feel like another layer of empowerment because I can say them properly. But if you don't know what they mean, and I was telling her that too. I was like, you can say the word, but unless you're translating it for people, then it's not landing. Like our brains need it to make sense. So that's really what I wanted to do for Kwanzaa this year is to, help me, Jesus. What I wanted to do for Kwanzaa this year is to make it make sense, to turn it into not just these principles that you can't necessarily pronounce correctly all the time. Kujakalia, you see these words and you're like, what does that mean? Self-determination, right? Our decisions determine your destiny, right? You get to choose, you get to write your own story. And this is about how you do that every day. So we're going to take a break and we'll be right back. We're taking a break on Rainier Avenue Radio. We'll be right back in about 1.5 minutes. I don't know, 2 minutes. We'll be right back in 2 and 2, as they used to say. Thanks.
This is Rainier Avenue Radio .world.
Love food? Here's some storage tips to keep it fresh longer. Store cut fruits and vegetables in the fridge. Place in reusable containers. Keep bread in the freezer for longer storage. 40% of food in the U.S. goes uneaten. Save money, save food, save the planet. Visit Seattle Public Utilities for more tips.
1, 2, get down.
What's up, big and little homies? This is Masvita Mara, host of Seattle Sports Weekly on Rainier Avenue Radio .world, your one-stop shop for Seattle sports. We cover preps, we cover college, we cover pro, we cover it all. Huskies, Mariners, Seahawks, Garfield, South, Roosevelt, Metro, King County. This is where you want to listen to for all the sports that's happening in Seattle. Seattle Sports Weekly on Rainier Avenue Radio .world.
Atlantic Street Center has been serving the children, youth, and families of the Seattle King County area since 1910. We partner with families and communities to raise healthy, successful children and youth through services including counseling, early learning, youth development, domestic violence, and education support for school-aged children. Committed to serving the African American community, Atlantic Street Center provides services and support for all marginalized people. Learn more at AtlanticStreetCenter.org.
Greetings. This is your host, DJ Naftali, Rainier Avenue Radio .world, the best DJ in the Seattle area. You can catch me every Monday at 8 p.m. on YouTube. Like I said, this is DJ Naftali, the best reggae in Seattle, Washington, the best radio station, Rainier Avenue Radio .world. Right?
A teacher who hurt their back and got prescribed opioids. A daughter trying to cope with a loss in the family. A friend silently struggling, thinking they'll be a burden if they ask for help. People with addiction come from all walks of life, and the truth is they stand a better chance at recovery with our support. Reaching out and sharing local resources can make all the difference. Don't count them out. More people recover with support. Find more ways to help at supportaddictionrecovery.com. That's supportaddictionrecovery.com.
You are listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Don't forget to log on www.rainieravenue radio.world.
Hey, y'all are back. Okay, so we're talking about Kwanzaa and making it real. That's what we're going to be doing here. We're making Kwanzaa real. Bear with me as I get my act together. Okay. So here is, we were just talking about the second principle of Kwanzaa, which is Kujichagulia. Kujichagulia. I love how that sounds. But right, it's the concept of self-determination. So I'm going to start over because I actually just really briefly. So we said that there's 7 principles of Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa is typically celebrated December 26th through January 1st. It's a 7-day celebration honoring African heritage, values, and community strength. It's not just a holiday, it's really a reaffirmation of who we are, what we're building together, and it centers our values, it strengthens our bonds, and reminds us that our culture is our foundation for both economic and for community power. I'm excited. Like whether you're lighting candles or not, I wanted to turn this topic into, again, this show is about better together and living powerfully. And the first principle of Kwanzaa is unity. It's better together. We're stronger together. And all the other principles of Kwanzaa are really, how do we level up? How do we live powerfully? So I just love this so much. And so there's 7 principles of Kwanzaa. I'm just going to go through them really quickly. It's called the Nguzo Saba. All 7 of them together is called the Nguzo Saba. And principle 1 is unity. Principle 2 is Kujichagulia, the one that's the hardest to pronounce, but it means self-determination. The principle 1, umoja, means unity. Principle number 2, Kujichagulia, means self-determination. Principle number 3, ujima, is collective works and responsibility. Ujama is principle number 4, and it's cooperative economics. Principle 5 for Kwanzaa is nia, and its purpose. Principle 6 is kuumba, and that's creativity. And principle 7 of Kwanzaa is amani, which is faith. So whenever I say one of the Kwanzaa principles, I have to say the English version because I don't want your brain to be like, what exactly is that? Umoja means unity. Remember, together we're stronger. It's better together. We went through that. I spent the first half of the show talking about unity, and it's a foundation. I just want to repeat that part. It's a foundation because without unity, nothing else we build can stand. The second principle of Kwanzaa is the Kujichagulia, and I'm just going to highlight very briefly. It's self-determination. It's really how we write our own stories, right? We're the author of our own narrative. So economically, we say culturally, politically, socially, in all ways, like we write our own narrative, right? We create our story for ourselves, we speak up for ourselves, and we refuse to let someone else write our story or to limit our potential. Someone can say something about you, and all you have to do is say, that's not me. I don't agree, and move on. You don't have to fight it. You don't have to, that doesn't require you to go back and forth with someone. When crazy people bring chaos into your life, the best thing to do is just to say, you know what? Chaos is contagious. I choose to let you be over there. Right. And that's not me. It's just, I don't want that to be part of my story. And then when crazy people do crazy things to you, grace, we talked about the 3 G's, right? Grace, gratitude, and giving. Grace is saying, I could do something, right? But I choose not to. I could do something in retaliation, for example. I could show up ugly, but I choose not to, right? Because self-determination says, I get to choose my story. I get to choose how I show up. So hopefully this all makes sense. It makes perfect sense. So I'm going to go to the next topic after emoja. is Ujima, or collective works. And again, I do have this beautiful presentation. I promise we're going to visually make sure you have access to this. If you go to my Facebook, it's actually posted on my Facebook right now, and we'll make sure it's here. Actually, I think my producer can put it in here in the chat. If not, I promise I'll make sure you guys have this, because it is beautiful and it's a resource. And, I did it for the Tacoma Pierce County Black Collective. I did it for the Economic Development Committee, partially because there's so many of these principles that are related to economics. And so I prepared this presentation with AI. It took me only a few minutes. And then I gave it a pretty detailed description of what I wanted it to say. And the images are beautiful. They're, intergenerational, they're full color. It's gorgeous. It's just a beautiful gift that I want to offer. So Ujima is principle number 3, and it's collective work and responsibility. When you think about this, just think about we rise together. Ujima means making, for example, our siblings' problems our problems and solving them together. So it's the collective work and responsibility. I'm my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. It's that concept, right? It's the understanding that we are responsible, not just for ourselves, but for the well-being of our entire community. Collective work and responsibility. So when you see something happening over there, right, you could choose, how can I be a part of the solution? What can I do to be a part of that solution, right? And you can't do everything, so you drive yourself crazy trying to fix all the crazy things that are not aligned with your values nowadays. But you can choose 1 or 2 things and then show up. That's why I do this show, looking crazy. I do it because I can contribute, because I'm brilliant. I can pull together content. I think I can make a contribution in people's lives, and I show up. I show up for community. So this is my idea of collective work and responsibility, right? There's some brilliant things that I've pulled together, that I've researched, that I've learned, that I've paid for, and I want you guys to all have access to it. And if living collaboratively, living better together, and living powerfully is one thing that I can do in 100 different ways, and that's what I'm gonna do. So there you go. Collective work. I'll move on. The next principle is Ujama, cooperative economics. So our dollars should circulate in our community. Ujama is the heartbeat of economic power. It calls us to build and to maintain our own stores, our own shops, our own businesses, and to profit from them together. This principle recognizes that where we spend our money matters profoundly for community wealth and sustainability. So you've heard people say, buy Black and build Black. Right, that's what they mean. Like, so it's whatever community you find yourself a part of, pouring into that community. Cooperative models, economic ecosystems. So where businesses support each other, sharing vendors, cross promoting, building together. So it's cooperative economics, and this concept of Ujama, cooperative economics. I say the word and then I'm defining it, so there's no confusion. Ujama, our dollars circulate in our community. Ujama transforms individual transactions into collective prosperity. It's also collective power, right? So the dollar collectively, right, as we spend in community, right, it changes everything. And it's the most direct path to closing wealth gaps and ensuring our economic survival and our economic growth. Okay, I'll keep moving. The next principle is Nia. Nia is the 5th principle of Kwanza, and Nia means purpose. And I met this beautiful girl at my church. Her name is Nia. And when I met her parents, I was like, y'all were really on a mission, right? And she's just the sweetest young lady. So Nia means purpose. And so it's like building for future generations. Nia means making our collective vocation the building and developing of our community. So if part of what you're doing, restoring our people to their traditional greatness, right? So looking ahead and saying, look beyond our own individual lives and invest in the structures that will outlast us. So purpose or legacy. We talk a lot about legacy on this show. We talk about leaving something for the next generation. That's why I'm doing my next book. I've contributed to 3 books that became international bestsellers. And I always feel like, I left something for the next generation. So this next series is books will include this same concept, right? So in everyday living, when you think about purpose, Nia, the 5th principle of Kwanza, it shows up when you mentor someone, right? When you preserve a cultural tradition, when you do anything that documents our history, when you make decisions with the 7th generation in mind, like when you think about like, how do I show up? How can I contribute? I like to say, how can you leave something for the next generation, right? How can you plant a seed and pour some water on it and, grow that for someone else to take full advantage of. So this concept of purpose, when you think about economics, we're leaving something for those after us, and you can sometimes just ask yourself that question when you're making decisions. We say decisions determine our destiny. If Nia or purpose drives the creation of legacy or legacy businesses designed to be passed down, right? That's a long-term community investment. So it's thinking longer term. You're thinking about what can I leave for someone else. So Nia and purpose is saying, it's about legacy, leaving a legacy for the next generation. Okay, so we're almost there. We're at 6. Our 6th principle of Kwanza is Kuumba, and it stands for creativity. Innovation, which is rooted in culture. Innovation, meaning thinking, creating new ideas. Kuumba challenges us to do as much as we can in the way we can to leave our community more beautiful and that can benefit from our contributions. So creativity is not just art, it's problem solving, it's innovation, it's the courage to imagine new possibilities. And I love this word creativity because I think that's one of the gifts that I have, that I have a finance degree. And I hated finance because there was no creativity in it. Like you have to basically, I did forecast and planning for IBM and Disney. And I didn't love it. And so fortunately they pulled me into other projects and I got to do a lot of really cool things. But the idea, I got to be creative. I love big problems. I love to imagine. I have a lot of information in my head and you can't really give me too much information. So what I love to do is to create solutions. And I think this idea of creating solutions, cultural enterprises, the storytelling power, even if you just tell your story in a creative way, if you present things in a way that is different than someone else, that's creativity. So anything that you do that is about innovation, that is the power of kuumba or creativity. And our creativity really is a competitive advantage. It births new business models. It revitalizes our neighborhoods. It can ensure our culture remains both dynamic and relevant. Again, we are a creative people. Kuumba reminds us that this concept of innovation within our community has always led the way. Always led the way. So I hope, just the way I'm talking about, this is our last one, but hopefully the way I'm talking about each of these principles, not just saying the word, but helping you to say, how can you take advantage of this principle every day and throughout the year? That would be my hope for this. If you just choose one, I can't do them all. Choose one, whichever one is resonated with you the most. Imani or faith. This is the 7th principle of Kwanzaa. And it's belief in ourselves and our future. It means believing with all of our heart in our people, in our parents, in our teachers, our leaders, our the righteousness and the victory of our struggle, right? Like we the people deciding that, it's an unshakable faith that sustains us through setbacks and it fuels our perseverance. So the concept of faith says, again, bad things are going to happen, but you're like, I thank you for the lesson. Right. It's like faith says this too will work out for my good. So when things happen, when setbacks happen, it talks about faith sustains us through setbacks and fuels our perseverance. When bad things happen, I'm not saying ignore them. Feel the feelings, all of that, right? You don't need to spend a whole lot of time in a negative space. Every situation can be turned into a gift or an opportunity. The question is, how quickly are you going to realize that so you don't spend a whole lot of time in spaces where you're not going to be your most creative self, right? So these principles all kind of connect with each other. So having the faith and the belief that everything will work out for your good brings you back to that self-determination. I get to choose. I get to decide, right? So I'm just going to connect all the dots here, right? Connected all the principles. So if you have faith when something bad happens, that it will work out for your good, then you can choose self-determination, right? Huji Jakalia, the second principle. You can choose to take an action that will hopefully, in partnership with others, right? That concept of collective work, because together it's easier, right? We're in a position where faith, more so than anything, looks like trusting the process, trusting that when anything happens, right, believing that even a bad situation can work out for your good, assuming that even a bad situation will work out for your good, right? Making the choice, deciding that this too will work out for my good. I hope I can, even if you don't know what it is, I just start with the ideal that it will, and then look for that. We talked about that with the whole PQ concept. Um, but believing, that you can count on other people, not everyone, because everyone is not your people, right? Everyone is not your people, but for the people that are your people, you can count on others. And then maintaining hope when progress feels slow, right? Faith and hope are connected, right? It's that spiritual resilience, but it's also just practical resilience. When things don't work out, you still get to choose. You still get to believe in yourselves and believe that the future will work out, that things will work out for your good in the future. I love it. So I am excited about a few things. One of them is this presentation. The other is the fact that it is the 29th of December. And what I get to talk about next isn't just, so here's the Kwanza through an economic development lens. So I built this visual. I said the Nguzu Saba, which again, that's all 7 principles. They're not just, again, holiday principles. They're really a strategic framework for building sustainable economic power. Each value translates directly into actionable strategies for wealth creation, business development, and community resilience. So if it's about strengthening your business, building sustainable wealth, supporting workforce development, and encouraging cooperative models. So, unity and cooperative economics creates, support networks. This concept of purpose, Nia, and self-determination, Kujijakalia, guide long-term investment. That's about building sustainable wealth. If you think about collective responsibility, that's about ensuring that everyone has an opportunity. That's supporting workforce development. And then encouraging cooperative models, that's Ujama, right? That creates shared ownership and prosperity for all. So if you think about Kwanza through an economic lens, there's so many elements that are really about how do we align this economic development work with the cultural values. I just told you. Now you got to decide, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to show up and let these principles be more than just words on a piece of paper? Are you going to allow these principles to be like literally how you show up, right? Not just initiatives, right? But ensure that these principles thrive inside of you, sustain the concepts, right, in our communities and for generations to come. That's really what I would hope will happen with Kwanza through an economic lens. So again, if you wonder, why does this even matter? Why do these principles matter today? This stuff has been around since I can go way back. But in a time of persistent economic gaps, right, the Nguzu Saba, or these 7 principles, that's what they are called when you talk about all 7 of them together, they offer a timely, relevant roadmap. I wanted to turn those words into a roadmap for true success, right? The principles address the exact issues that we face right here, locally and nationally, right? The economic gaps, the ownership disparities, community resilience, right? When external systems fail, that concept of Ujima and Umoja ensure that we have each other's back, right? Our collective strength is our greatest asset in times of crisis and opportunity. So this concept of Kwanzaa isn't just what we used to do. It should be a living, breathing strategy for both economic empowerment, for community power, right here and right now. I wanted to turn this again from these principles that people don't even really think about as often as they should to, wow, I want to take that into my 2026. Like, I want to make sure this is something, and we should be talking about it beyond these 7 days, by the way. Right, you could talk about self-determination and collective power, and I say better together. That's I should start using the Kwanzaa terms more frequently. So again, living the Nguzu Saba, living all 7 principles does not require grand gestures. I just wanted to clarify that. It starts with daily choices. I always say on this show that decisions determine your destiny. So daily choices that honor the values. That's why I wanted to talk about this today in this way. Each of us has the power to practice Kwanzaa principles year-round, transforming our individual actions into collective impact. So how might you do that, you ask? I have some very practical steps for you. You can celebrate intentionally, meaning be intentional about your celebrations. Gather with family and friends, not only during Kwanzaa, but you can do it at least once, right? But not just during Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa principles are 365, right? So you can light the Kanara, you can discuss the principle, or you can just say, hey, I want to just focus on this one, this concept of, bam, whichever one kind of connects with you the most. You could choose one per month. You could choose one per week. You can just decide, hey, I got them all in my head. I'm going to think about them collectively when the situation, right? Like when you wake up, and you could be intentional. So I'm not going to say just randomly choose a principle. I'm saying think about them and then start your day with it in mind. So if you're saying, I want to be more, I want to focus on self-determination today, like, right? Or think about them all and say, in my practices, you can plan out your week. Most people are planning their year out this year, right? So you could decide, this is what I want to do. So celebrate intentionally, but also plan, right? So you can celebrate not only during Kwanzaa, but celebrate weekly, monthly, however you want to do it, but just be intentional about the words, about the concepts, about the principles. These are values. So it's a bigger space to land when you think about the values of Kwanzaa. These are Kwanzaa principles, are really values. You can also support businesses that that make a practice. We talk about, well, I think we should do Black Business 365. That's one of our principles. Make it a practice, not just a holiday campaign, but look for vendors and service providers and shops and let your dollars be part of your activism, right? Like, so choose well and choose wisely. The other thing you can do, again, to engage as an individual every day, turning the Kwanzaa principles into a living powerfully, is teach the principles to other people, to the young people in your life, to older people who may not be activating. You can reference one and say, this is an example of collective. Like, say you have a suggestion, you can tie it back to something bigger than you, right? So say there's a organization that you want to partner with or collaborate with, and you can mention, hey, this is, collective works, right? This is a collective works opportunity. And so you really get to show up and let your life be the teaching moment, not the words you say. We always say, don't talk about it, be about it, right? So you want to be intentional, you want to think about it, but you also want to be about it. You want to make sure that you're putting these into practice. And again, practice it year round. So don't let January 2nd be the end. Let unity guide your relationships. Let purpose drive your work. And let creativity shape how you solve problems every single day. And if you think about Kwanzaa not only as an individual, but think about Kwanzaa as an organization or even as a community, here are some specific things that organizations and communities can do to really take a unique opportunity to embed Kwanzaa principles into your operations, into your programming. This is alignment that creates authentic impact, and it also deepens your connection with the communities that we serve. So you can align your programs to the principles. You can review your mission. You can, identify where opportunities to strengthen unity, to self-determination, for cooperative economics. Like where can I build that into our programming? Where can I build that into anything that we're doing? How do we get to talk about it in a way that says this is aligned with the vision that we have for myself? And remember, it's bigger than you. So, and for your community. You can invest locally. We talked about that, right? Banking with organizations and attending to businesses that are in your community. Build partnerships and collaborations. Share resources, cross-promote, amplify each other's work, celebrate when someone is doing well. Yay, this is not competition, right? This is about how do we collaborate? Collective works. How do we support, collaborate, and love upon each other on a regular basis? I got 3 minutes. Measure impact collectively. Let me see. I think I have to. Oh, you can be music, right? So, daily choices, monthly commitments, annual investments, and generational vision. That's how we turn Kwanzaa not into an event, but a lifetime opportunity for real change. That's it, y'all. Thanks.